welcome to NateSuits. If he's already down to talk, he comes representing Tech Token Engineering Commons. So yeah, Nate, I see you opened your mic. Welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me. Um, yeah, it's just really good to see MetaGame back in the swing of things and you know having this reawakening. So really excited to be here and thank you for having me. Should I go ahead and get started?
Yes.
Sure thing. You can tell us how will be like the overall of the talk, and then start destillating those points.
Yeah, for sure. I'll share my screen real quick. I just have like not a big fan of PowerPoints, but they are handy when it comes to just kind of bullet pointing out some ideas and thoughts. But for those of you, maybe you've heard of the Token Engineering Commons, maybe you have not. Um, For those who haven't, we are a commons centered around the developing field of token engineering. And a commons is the cultural, natural, resources accessible to any members of society. And so we wanted to approach it this way. And our beginnings, it's something that I really want to kind of cover because I think what we went through as a organization early on has a lot of relevance to um, you know how organizations are formed and are maintained and sustained over time. This was kind of a collaboration at one point between the Token Engineering Commons. It became the first instance of a commons that was built between the Common Stack Association and the token engineering community that was around late 2018, early 2019. They decided to come together and say, "Hey, how do we create a commons economy that helps build this new nascent field of token engineering?" Uh, and it's something that was put to the test, and we at Common Stack decided to put the first instance of a commons economy together, and it follows along with what we call Ostrom's principles. If you don't know who Eleanor Ostrom is, she was one of the first women to ever receive the Nobel Prize for economics on her work on governing the commons. She defined these kind of 8 principles that really highlighted the characteristics of commons that she went around and studied throughout human history, throughout the world, um, and noticed that of all the ones that successfully were able to manage resources over long periods of times, and I'm talking generations, um, these are the kind of principles that they actually held, and we took that concept and applied it to how do we apply this to DAOs, or in this case our organizational structure. Um, Having clearly defined boundaries, having congruence between appropriation, provision, rules and conditions, collective choice arraignments, mutual monitoring, graduated sanctions, all these things that were really important and foundational to actually forming an organization was starting to come together. And we started to do something which is called collaborative economics. And it was one of the most interesting and impactful experience I've ever had in terms of just seeing how collaboration works um, when it comes to designing the TEC token. We got together and we said, okay, we want to take the Ocean's principles and apply it to our community and have this kind of cultural build to have people understand what we're building. Because as the previous speaker noted, a lot of times you'll have technical individuals who understand the engineering, the software engineering, the technical aspects of the token economics of the system, and then you have some people who are kind of in people operations, and there's a disconnect in information there. And what we wanted to do was close that gap of information. And so what we did was we had what were called param parties. Basically, we took our proposed economic model, which I will speak of in a little bit. But we set out all the possible parameters for that model, and we laid them out for everybody to see. We had what we call param parties, where we'd get together every Friday. People who were technical enough actually hosted these param parties for those who wanted to learn. We taught each other exactly what parameters did what and how they would impact our token economy. And one of the amazing aspect of this, if you ever get a chance to look at our forum, is that we had these proposals, different names. The $1 gambit for $1 million Goldilocks orogeny, the Bolsheviks gambit. We had all these really creative inputs from people who technically weren't they weren't technical beforehand, but by allowing them to submit their own parameters for both the augmented bonding curve that we have, as well as the voting modules. Um, we were able to actually let them propose it, put it in the form, and then if you liked it or you wanted to change something of it, you could actually fork the proposal. You could take the proposal, make a slight change, validate it, give your reasoning of why you think this is a good strategy. The reason I bring this up is because in the token engineering commons, what ended up happening is that you had this community that was centered around a common goal of bringing token engineering into this new era. Um, but you had a growing consensus of what the economy should look like, and you had an educated community that was able to identify different parts of your token economy that was once, this highly complex system is now distilled to people who technically wouldn't have understood it prior to that. And I think we take that for granted in a lot of ways. This kind of collaborative nature of economics. Everybody's participating in it, and so why shouldn't you have a say so or some insight into how it works? And when you do have that, you have better input, you have better monitoring. So if the technical team does make some change, you have somebody on the outside going, "Hey, why did you make that change? I understand that this parameter affects this type of area of our token economy." And so these are the types of things that we wanted to instill. And what we all ended up doing as time went on was we started to get consensus on each of the parameters that were set up. And I thought that was just one of the greatest things that I've participated in. And so we finally all agreed as a community and voted to implement a set parameter set, and that's what we went than trying to figure out nonprofit models that work. And the augmented bonding curve, for those who don't know, it's very similar to your automatic market maker that you have like on any DEX. Um, and you have, a buy curve, and the more money you put into the reserve, the higher the cost of the token, and so forth. It follows this curve. This is how a DEX works. But we have what's called a primary automatic market maker, which means all tokens are minted from this curve. So if you wanted to buy a TEC token, you'd have to put the reserve currency, which right now is Rocket Pool ETH, and that would mint you the kind of innovation that we had. We had this primary market maker, and the more that you use it, the better off, the more price volatility you'll have. Um, the augmented bonding curve was a little, it was a take on the bonding curve that we actually implied what were called tributes. So a percentage of each transaction in and out of the bonding curve would actually generate. It would be similar to a tax, and it would go to a common pool, and that common pool would be managed by all the token holders. And so over time, you have this kind of structure for this kind of economic engine that drives the funding of new public goods. And so the more utility you have on the bonding curve and the more activity you have on it, the more funds you drive towards the common pool, and that means more money to manage. And so this is what really attracted me to the TEC when I first started to implement this. If you're interested as an organization, the Common Stack team has a place where you can actually play around with it. Let me put this up here. And sorry, if anybody has any questions right now, please do let me know. Um, I know, I feel like I'm talking nonstop. But here's the ABC simulator. So if you wanted to kind of test out exactly your own parameters or what your organization would look like or your bonding curve would look like, you can run simulations on it and go from there. But yeah, um, sorry. Um, I'm gonna keep moving. So I kind of went over the brief history and the economic engine that I'm really fond of. But what is token engineering exactly? So this is something that I wanted to kind of answer. Um, the early development has been as a field of science. Most of you understand token engineering as a conglomeration of these interdisciplinary fields for crypto economic systems. This is called a token engineering flower. We have our political science and governance, philosophy, law, and ethics, so on and so forth, and they all make up the flower. Um, this is the wild thing about economics in general is that you have to consider all of these fields, but you know, we're merging known concepts. I feel like a lot of times we think of token engineering and we think that we've created a bunch of, recreated the wheel. And many of these concepts that we deal with in DeFi and different areas, they already exist. Organizational structure, they exist and they have existed for a long time. We just now have tools that can create new incentives to actually participate in those types of systems that we never had before. And so I find that really very interesting. But the one thing I want to take away here is that what is token engineering exactly is kind of the distinction between science and engineering. The KPI of science is to build a growing body of knowledge. And we see that with this token engineering flower. We see that with all of the developments in the private realm with DeFi projects, protocols being developed. But the KPI of engineering is to build, deploy, and maintain artifacts, and taking responsibility for what you are building. And this is the type of kind of professional approach towards development within Web3 that we would like to see more of. Not just creating for the sake of creating, but creating and knowing that you're going to own and take responsibility for that creation as you move forward. And this is something that we want to see, very similar to the IEEE, where we have this kind of set of standards where we have token engineers who are being developed within, a token engineering academy, for example. And we want to grow this field as it starts to develop in this very slow manner. But, computer science was the same way. It started off with just as a computer science, and they started saying, okay, well, now we have this kind of field of software engineering. uh, Universities started taking up these departments that were focused in the engineering aspects, and we need to take the engineering of token design mechanisms, all of these things, and put it into kind of a formal process. And so that's one of the visions that we have here at the TEC. Um, this is our formal mission, and vision. Our goal is to become a Schelling point for token engineering community. Economic layer is to fund projects that discover, develop, and proliferate best practices. And our social layer is to unite the token engineering field around the ethical principles, standards, tools, and methodologies that emerge uh, as we continue to advance this field. And so this is kind of the core of what the token engineering commons set out to be, and continues to set out to be. There are a lot of future developments that we want to look into that we already have set the foundations for, including mass adoption of teaching token engineering disciplines at universities and other areas, integration of LLMs within token engineering processes, formal verification, which is a massive part of the token engineering process. We want to be able to verify and have safe token systems that are, you know, published out there. I know it can get very distracting with meme coin uh, popping up every 15 seconds, but um, having formal verification modeling libraries such as CADCAD and Token Spice are going to be fundamental tools that allow token engineering to take the next step as we move forward. Um, and then I wanted to give a shout out for some ecosystem opportunities for those of you who are unaware of token engineering. We do have our grant round, number 4 with Gitcoin coming up at the end of next month, I believe. Once they formally set a date for that, we will have uh, a 25K matching pool for the quadratic funding grants, and we may have an additional 25K as well. So there's an opportunity if you're doing anything focused in token engineering, or if you have done it in previous. We will also be having a token engineering retro PGF with Gitcoin as well in the future. So yeah, we're kind of exploring this kind of grant round area. And then, of course, if you ever get a chance to visit the Token Engineering Academy, they have the TE fundamentals, kind of the 101 of token engineering. If you're interested in ever starting your token engineering career, this is a great place to start and a great community to join and be a part of. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of give everybody a down low of the token engineering commons and the token engineering community in general. So does anybody have any questions? I'll be happy to answer. I know that was a
Hey,
lot.
NateSuits. Thank you for sharing today. I would like to have the links that you share with us, and if you have like any further information we can read about the grants, that would be great to have also. So in the Townhall chat, I would appreciate if you drop the links you want to share with us.
For sure. I'll drop all the links for you.
Yeah, does anybody has questions? I would think that if I'm come from a background of zero knowledge on the topic of token engineering, but let's say that I want to do a DAO, token engineering can be my way to go into learning my first steps into token engineering. That's right.
Yes, if you're interested in the field of token engineering, I think it's great, and it doesn't have to be from the perspective of like I'm a code developer. Understanding the economics and mechanism design, DAO design, all the structures that we deal with on a daily basis when we are dealing with Web3 and tokenized systems, um, token engineering can be applied there, and so I think there's a lot to learn from fellow token engineers that are the existing group of token engineers who are doing this on a day-to-day basis and who are kind of consulting. And then we have a lot of students, and I think the Token Engineering Academy is great for that if you want your entry point into it. And it doesn't have to be like I want to be a software developer. I just do want to have a better understanding of your token economic system that you're proposing.
Great. Thank you for taking the time for answering that. Um, I think not more questions on my end, but a lot to research on the topic. Well, if anybody has any questions left,
I'm definitely going to be diving into it more soon. Nate, thanks for the presentation. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, apologies if I went a little too fast there.
well, I think that we might get some feedback from our streaming in the late in the next days. I see Jesus Coin sharing that he's at work. I know it, but I know he will be curious about getting to know more about this. This is for sure a really insightful topic, and for Web3 natives and enthusiasts, I think that this can be great. First points to get a clear view about those topics. So yeah, thank you for being our guest today, NateSuits and Katerina. Uh, Also, thanks to everybody who joined. Time, Vanessa, Jesus, Co, Zero, who was earlier. I remember Chuck Harrison as well. I think that we're ready for today.
Thanks everyone for joining, whether you're on the live stream or you're in Discord. Nice presentations today from NateSuits and Katrina.
Thank you, Co. Yeah, but
Thanks for
I
having
think
me,
that.
guys.
Oh, a pleasure, man.
Would you like to sing us an outro song?
I would love to, yeah. Let's do something and let's repair what I did with the Ode to Joy. Oh my god. A los días grises se les vive con el alma. Es innegable esta herida que se abre en tu pantalla. Vivir los matices es la regla en la palabra. Imposible que la vida sepa amarga en la nevada. A los días buenos los aprecio mientras duren. Pido siempre fortaleza para que eso no me nule y tenga que sentirme mal para poder entender que soy causa y efecto del dolor. Sí, soy causa y efecto del dolor. Que soy causa y efecto. Vivo pleno porque sé que muero cada día. Cuando la noche acontece y así perder la agonía, y cada día renovador fortalecerá mi vista. Me siento genial con eso, sabiendo que todavía tengo música en la boca para pasar la chumita que me tiene siendo dentro todo lo que no veía. Una cúpula por donde se proyecta la armonía, un sistema de la tierra que disipa la entropía, unas cuerdas de guitarra que meditan de la vida, permitiendo el desenlace de la confusión finita, y así no tengas que sentirte mal a la hora de entender que eres causa y efecto del dolor. Sí, que eres causa y efecto del dolor. Ouch. Que eres causa y efecto.
So very beautiful.
Cause and effect. That's a song about being careful in the good times and appreciating the bad times.